Okay, with the new year just around the corner, I thought now would be the best time to share with you all my top 10 anticipated movies of 2025. These are the movies that I'm hoping are just going to be amazing, that they are going to surpass expectations, and granted, a majority of movies in this list are already part of established franchises, stories, worlds. They are sequels, maybe prequels, and that's why I'm looking forward to them, because they are part of something that I already hold very dear to my heart, that I love. And that is the reason why a lot of these movies are in this list. Though I do have a few notable honourable mentions that I just want to share with you all. So those being Mikey 17, directed by Bong Joon-ho. I really like the trailer. I'm just really looking forward to seeing what he brings you with this science fiction black comedy. You've also got Megan 2.0. Some of you might be surprised by this because the first Megan was one of my biggest disappointments of 2023, but that's the reason why I am still somewhat really looking forward to this week's sequel, because I'm hoping they've listened to some of the negative criticisms maybe around that first movie, and we get something that's perhaps a slightly different beast and an improvement on that first movie. You've also got Nobody 2, a sequel to a movie that I really had a hell of a lot of fun with. You've got Wicked Part 2, and I'm surprised that I'm even saying this, but for me, one of the biggest surprises of this year was Wicked, the first part. I absolutely enjoyed that movie a hell of a lot. And then just missing out on the number 10 spot in my list is Avatar, Fire and Ash. And, you know, again, some of you, those of you that have been following me for a while now might be surprised by this, that Avatar doesn't make my top 10. You know, with James Cameron being one of my favourite movie directors of all time. But I am also one of those fans of Cameron that are kind of sort of wishing or hoping that he would just move away from Avatar now. I feel like he's spending just a little bit too much of his talent within that universe. Yet at the same time, it's James Cameron, and I'm still looking forward to seeing what he creates, what he brings to us with this third movie, even though for me personally Avatar 2 was it was disappointing for me. Probably the only time I've ever come out of a James Cameron movie actually feeling disappointed. So yeah, they are my honourable mentions, and so yeah, enough rambling, let's jump into number 10. And in at number 10, it's Leigh Whannell's Wolfman. One of the reasons why I'm so excited for this, not only because I'm a fan of the original, the Universal Wolfman movie, but also we've got Leigh Whannell directing this. Like, I think he did such a fantastic job with The Invisible Man. What he did with that movie was retain the essence of that original movie from the Universal collection, but at the same time bring us something new and different, yet it still retained sort of the horror and sort of that creepiness of what made the original The Invisible Man special, and that is what I'm hoping for you with Wolfman. And so that is why it's one of my anticipated movies of 2025. I'm just so damn excited, and I'm liking what we're seeing at the moment when it comes to the trailers as well. So yeah, in at number 10, it's Leigh Whannell's Wolfman. And in at number 9 is Tron, Aries. A film that some of you might find surprising, that's in my list, but I'm a big fan of the original movie. I just love being immersed within this world. From a technical perspective, when it comes to that original movie, I just found it to be very intriguing, and it's just one of those movies, along with Star Wars, that I grew up just admiring. And I'm a big supporter. I am a fan of its sequel, Tron Legacy. I actually found myself really enjoying that movie, and it's a sequel that, for me, worked. So I am really looking forward to seeing what we get here with Tron, Aries, and just being immersed within this world again. It's directed by a Joachim Ronin. Apologies if that's incorrect, if I pronounced that incorrect there. But I'm not aware of anything else that he's directed. But we have got Nine Inch Nails composing the music for this sequel. You had Daft Punk, who composed an incredible soundtrack for the second movie, Legacy, and we've got Nine Inch Nails here doing Tron Aries, and that alone gets me very, very excited because I'm a massive fan of Nine Inch Nails and Trent Reznor as a composer. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing what they cook up there. And I just also think that the sound of Nine Inch Nails would fit into the world of Tron beautifully, and it also perhaps in a way kind of indicates that maybe we're gonna get something a little bit darker and grittier maybe within the world of Tron. I don't know, but it just gets me incredibly excited that these guys are composing the music for Tron Aries. So yeah, Tron Aries is in at number 9 for me. In at number 8, it is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I'm not a massive fan, I'll be honest with you, of the title to this movie, but I am so freaking excited for the final installment in the Mission Impossible franchise, or at least with Tom Cruise. For me, Mission Impossible are those movies that sort of kind of showcase good old-fashioned traditional filmmaking with the way sort of the action is crafted. They are movies that take me back to being a kid again, watching the Bond movies, witnessing stunts actually being performed within the frame, and they're just full of wonder and just creativity due to how those moments are brought to life. As a result of that kind of good old-fashioned traditional filmmaking, they are incredibly fun to experience. They are a hell of a lot more immersive as a result, and there's just something, just watching these movies, you could just sense the love behind the scenes instead of just bringing those moments, whatever it be, Tom Cruise riding that motorcycle off the ledge. I mean, that was an incredible scene in the previous movie. It's just incredible. They immerse you and wrap you up within the action in a way that a lot of modern action movies fail to do today. And that is why Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is number 8 in my top 10 anticipated movies of 2025. And in at number 7 is Ballerina from the world of John Wick. Now, I don't think this would have been in my list unless I watched that trailer already. I loved the trailer to this movie, and not only that, it's a movie that I would have looked forward to anyway because it's part of the John Wick universe, and I'm a big fan of those movies. And so it had my interest, but after watching the trailer to this, it looks so much fun. I am on board. I'm really looking forward to this movie. And the other thing that's really fueled my interest for this film due to this trailer is it appears they have captured exactly what makes those John Wick movies special. And that is the action scenes, the fight scenes. They look real. They feel real. We've actually got stunts being performed on the screen. And they have that kind of creativity and imagination behind them. And that's what appears to have been captured here in this kind of very small glimpse that we do get with Ballerina. It's directed by Len Wiseman. Now, he's not directed a movie since 2012, that being Total Recall. He also directed Die Hard, Live Free, or Die Hard. It was also called something else here. 4.0, I think. I really can't remember. But that kind of sums up those two movies, Total Recall and Die Hard. They were sort of okay, pale imitations or watered down versions of what had come before in those franchises. And so, but I am a big fan of Underworld, and believe it or not, I like the sequel to Underworld. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Len Wiseman does here with Ballerina. It's been quite a few years since he's directed a movie, and from watching that trailer, it just looks like it looks incredibly fun. So yeah, Ballerina is in at number 7 for me. In at number 6 is the live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon, directed by Dean DeBrois, who also directed the previous 3 animated movies. I'm a little bit conflicted with this, but I'm still incredibly looking forward to it because it is an adaptation of a series of movies that I absolutely hold very close to my heart. They are movies that I just adore, and they are incredible. They are ones that they just, in the way in which the stories are crafted, they are incredibly smart. They're very emotional and powerful, but are also sort of suitable for all ages, and they just handle the sort of the themes within their movies in a way that's incredibly clever. And I'm just a big fan, especially of the original movie. And, you know, it's like The Lion King for me. Like, I didn't feel like we needed a live action remake of that movie, that classic movie from 1993. I mean, The Lion King for me is one of the greatest, or one of the best, or one of my favourite animated movies of all time. And I just don't think you can do much really to that, whether it be a live action remake or just a remake. You know, are you really going to create something that is a better experience than that original, that is a classic, that is so well made as it is? And so this is why I'm very conflicted with this remake, yet it sits quite high in my anticipated movies because I am hoping that it's going to be something that is worthy of a live action remake, something that's going to give us something new, and, you know, but also at the same time retain the essence and magic and sort of that emotional core of the original. But I feel like at the same time it needs to be something that warrants us having this sort of retelling or sort of imagining or remake of that original. I know it's live action, but there's no point in doing it if it's going to be a shot for shot retelling. It really isn't. And a good example of that was the Lion King live action remake. I mean, that completely lacked the soul and magic of the original Lion King movie, and I'm just hoping we're not going to get the same year with this. But we do have the original director directing it, and that gives me hope. So yeah, How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake, is in at number 6 for me. And in at number 5 is a movie that's actually just released in the States, but we don't get it here in the UK until the 1st of Jan. So for me, it's a 2025 movie, and that's Nosferatu, directed by Robert Eggers. And I am just so damn excited for this film. I'm loving everything that I'm seeing within the trailers, sort of the atmosphere, and just some of the shots within that trailer alone just get me so freaking excited. But at the same time, you know, it's very rare that I'll watch a trailer to a horror and the trailer itself gives me chills. Like, you've got this one moment with the door opening and I'm like, wow, this just looks like everything that I want a movie like this to be. And I'm a big fan of Robert Eggers as a director. You know, you've got films like The Northman, The Witch. I've enjoyed every one of his movies, and so I feel like he's definitely the right man here to sort of bring us a new telling of what is a very familiar story now, which is Nosferatu or Dracula. And Bill Skarsgård as, you know, Nosferatu is just perfect casting there alone, and that just witnessing him bring this character to life gets me really damn excited. And just from a technical perspective, from a sort of how he's bringing the story to life, I mean, just again going back to that trailer, or many trailers for this movie, it kind of gives me very sort of Bram Stoker, Dracula vibes, which I'm digging. And, you know, like I said, going back to that scene with the door opening, it's incredibly creepy. You know, you could just sense the horror and dread within this very brief moment here of the door opening, and it's all achieved through how it's brought to life from a lighting perspective, the cinematography. You know, it looks and feels like a Robert Eggers movie. I am excited. I am looking forward to this movie, and that is why Nosferatu, which comes out the 1st of January in the UK, is in at number 5 for me. And in at number 4, it's Predator Badlands. Once again, now we've got a new Predator film directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who did a beautiful job of Prey. This is not a sequel, this is another standalone movie within the Predator franchise, a franchise that I am a massive fan of, and I feel like what Dan Trachtenberg managed to achieve with Prey is capture sort of the thrill and the horror of that original movie, but also do something that, you know, that was different as well, but very much a Predator film. And it's a Predator movie that I think a lot of fans like myself have been waiting for a long time, and he definitely understands what it is that the fans want when it comes to these movies. And Prey had a heart to it. It had a character that we could get behind and root for, with a story that had an, you know, this kind of emotional core to it and just wraps you up within the journey, and that is something that the sequels have been missing. But I have absolute faith here that Dan Trachtenberg is going to give us another great installment within the Predator franchise. And so yeah, that is why Predator Badlands is in at number 4 for me. And in at number 3, and another one that I feel like people might be a little bit surprised by, especially after the crushingly disappointing and terrible Jurassic World Dominion, is Jurassic World Rebirth, directed by Gareth Edwards. Look, hear me out here. I'm a massive fan of these movies. You know, especially the original, the first 3. They are movies that I grew up with as a kid. Jurassic Park, as you know, holds a very special place in my heart. I hold it very dear because it's one of those movies that kind of fueled my love for film. I mean, it was one of those films that I first watched. It was my first ever cinema experience, and it was one that I will always remember because, and it's as a result, like with films like Star Wars: A New Hope and many others, they're one of those films that kind of really contributed to my passion for film. And then we've had sort of varying quality, you know, when it comes to the sequels. But here we've got a sort of another kind of reboot now with Jurassic World Rebirth. And the one sort of aspect of this that gets me really excited is the fact that we've got Gareth Edwards, who directed 2014's Godzilla, as well as Monsters, the amazing Star Wars Rogue One, which I absolutely adored. So that alone, with Gareth Edwards on board here directing this, gives me a hell of a lot of hope for this movie, as well as the fact that in recent interviews they've spoken about really going back and sort of honing in on what made that original special, and sort of trying to give us something that will take us back really to watching that original. So I'm hearing all the right things at the moment. I'm liking what I'm hearing, and I'm just hoping that we do get something that takes us back to what made that original so special. And one of the things that I really like about Gareth Edwards as a director, and how he's brought his movies to life, like Godzilla, is he does a really good job at sort of creating that sense of scale by sort of putting you, the viewer, in a way, sort of looking at it from a perspective of sort of like you are there on the ground with these characters, and sort of witnessing these sort of big creature, you know, these large entities come to life in a way as a result of how he does it, through the sort of the perspective in which he attempts to sort of bring these stories to life, does it in a way that kind of creates a much more real experience. It feels like this is actually happening. It gives you that kind of true sense of scale and horror, you could say. And it's something that he's done in every one of his movies, I feel. Especially Godzilla. It's always not to lose sight of kind of the human aspect of what it would feel like to sort of witness and experience these events. Wherever it be, you know, running towards a giant AT-AT or AT-AT. Or with Godzilla just sort of looming, coming towards you, you know, as you're sort of escaping down into the bunker. I just love how he manages to capture that kind of sort of perspective and realism of experiencing something that how it would really feel like if you were there on the ground with these characters. So yeah, Jurassic World Rebirth is in at number 3 for me. And in at number 2 is a sequel, a movie that I've been waiting for since 2007. And that is 28 Years Later, directed by Danny Boyle, who also directed the fantastic first movie, the 28 Days Later. He didn't return to direct the sequel, but it was a surprisingly good sequel. I highly recommend checking 28 Weeks Later out. It's a really good film. I haven't seen it in years, mind. But now you've got Danny Boyle directing with Alex Garland on writing duties, and that alone gets me so freaking excited for this film. Not only that, you've got the beautiful, fantastic trailer that dropped a couple of weeks ago, and this is a good example. This trailer is a fantastic example of how you do a trailer, how you create an effective trailer. It gives you glimpses into where we're at right now within the world in which the story is based, and then you've got that poem, that haunting poem that plays on the top. It's a poem by Rudyard Kipling. I had to look this up because it was an aspect of the trailer that really intrigued me, and it's because, it does so many things for the trailer in which, it elevates the horror. It sort of really gives us a glimpse into the psychological aspect of this movie, with where the characters are at and where the world is at. But it's a poem by Rudyard Kipling, and it's titled Boots, so if you want to go and check that out. But it does, like I said, with that playing on the top of sort of the glimpses that we get into this movie, it's incredibly effective. You could sense the dread, you could sense the horror, you could sense the pain and sort of the emotion that these people are going through, these characters are going through, in the sort of the very brief glimpses that we do get. It is a fantastic trailer. I absolutely loved it. One of my regrets this year was not actually doing a review of it. I just didn't get around to reviewing the trailer. But it's a superb trailer, and it's sort of, I was already excited for this movie anyway. When you got Danny Boyle returning with Alex Garland writing it, and I'm there. And especially after that kind of very surprisingly good sequel 28 Weeks Later, I've been waiting for this movie for a while, for a long, long time, and I'm just glad we finally get it. And that fucking trailer is out of this world. It's great. So yeah, 28 Years Later is in at number 2 for me. And in at number 1, and that is James Gunn's Superman. The trailer dropped, was it last week? And I loved it. I've done a review of that particular trailer, and it's a trailer that sort of really kind of reinforces the hope that I've got for this movie. I feel like James Gunn was the perfect one really to sort of bring us this new telling of Superman, and there's something that they do or manage to achieve with that trailer for me that kind of really sort of in many ways puts his arms around different fans within the Superman universe. Whether it be you someone that adores Zack Snyder's Man of Steel or grew up watching Christopher Reeve's Superman, I felt like there was something in that trailer that kind of catered for every type of fan who adores and looks up to this character. And it's also a trailer that kind of very much has that James Gunn aesthetic to it and vibe to it, and it's one that I feel like sort of kind of gives us a glimpse at sort of the more emotional core of its story. I mean, you've got that one moment in the trailer of that little boy in sort of like what looks like to be a war-torn country, sort of holding up that flag and sort of just praying for Superman. It's an incredibly powerful scene, an incredibly powerful moment, and it just shows that James Gunn understands what makes this character so special. And it really sort of taps into what I adored that Zack Snyder was attempting to do with Man of Steel. I mean, I absolutely love Man of Steel, and it's a very underrated film, but it's because of what Zack Snyder was attempting to do there with sort of the idea of hope and sort of, how we were saving as a human race and all of that. I think we've all, depending on what your age is, I mean, we've all grown up with this character. I am one of those that sort of grew up with those original movies as a kid. I wasn't born when the original came out, but along with other DC superheroes like Batman, it was one of those movies that I always hunted and went back to over and over again as a child due to sort of the magic and sort of the wonder and the charm behind them. So yeah, Superman is in at number 1 for me, and I have absolute faith that James Gunn is going to bring us something special here. So yeah, James Gunn's Superman is in at number 1 for me. So yeah, They are my top 10 anticipated movies of 2025. What do you guys think? Are there any of your favourites in that list? Is there a film that I haven't mentioned and that you think that should be there, or a film that, you know, I should be looking forward to maybe that I'm not aware that is coming next year? Then please let me know in the comments below and let's get a discussion going. And if you've made it this far into the video, then thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to watch future movie reviews, top 10 lists and just general movie talk from a random geek in Wales, then please hit the subscribe button. It will mean an awful lot to me. My next top 10 list will be my top 10 favourite movies of 2024. Really looking forward to sharing with you all the movies that meant something to me this year. And I've also got a couple of reviews planned. You've got Sonic 3 that I'm hoping to squeeze in before the year ends, as well as Mufasa, the prequel to The Lion King. And yeah, just another big thank you to all of those that are connecting or have connected to the channel over the last year. It means an awful lot to me. Whether it be liking, disliking, commenting, subscribing, it means an awful lot. And I will always be overwhelmed that so many of you do want to follow just some random Welsh geek who ramble on about film and TV. But it means so much. So yeah, enough rambling on from me. I hope you've all had a great Christmas. And yeah, a lot planned that I'm looking forward to growing my channel into 2025. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll be catching you guys soon.